it's Joanna Toch from Family Law Cafe for the Family Law Cafe podcast. Delighted to have Louize Yafai here today. She is a breakup, divorce and domestic abuse coach. And we're going to get into all of the areas that she covers. First of all, Louize, how would you describe the work you do and how did you get into it?
Well, for me, I went through my own acrimonious divorce many years ago now, and I kind of realised that when I was going to see my solicitor at the time, I was just full of emotion and just wanted to offload how I was feeling to my solicitor. And of course, she had compassion, but that wasn't her job to fix my emotions. And really, when I used to walk out the office, I kind of felt that I wasn't heard, and I wasn't really listening to what she was telling me, because I just wanted to tell her all about my emotions and my ex-husband did this, that, the other. And when I was in the courts as well, I was talking to other people going through the same divorce or breakups, and they were also just completely clouded with the likes of anger, of betrayal or sadness and loss, really. So, you know, they just didn't know how to process their emotions. So I went on a course to become a coach and I got my accreditation, thankfully. And since then, I've been helping people with their difficult transitions in life.
Okay, and that's so important because for me, I've worked as a lawyer for 34 years doing family work, and I am a barrister. Sometimes I've worked in solicitors' offices.
Yes.
And we don't want to be difficult, but we would say, okay, you know, we don't need all of that information and we know it's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
And that sounds so rude and nasty. But we also know people are paying a huge amount of money, you know, on our hourly rate.
Yes.
And we're not really giving them value because we're not trained as, you know, in those areas.
Yeah.
You know, we've been to law school, we've learned a bit along the way. So that's one of the reasons I set up Family Law Cafe. So it was an element of coaching. So people got a team together to meet all of their needs and didn't think that the divorce lawyer was going to meet all of their needs. So it's a massive area. So really interested to talk to you.
Great, thank you. Delighted to be here.
So what's the main area that you cover? I mean, you cover breakup, divorce and domestic abuse.
Yes.
So when people come to you, do you have cases which cover all of those, or is it just different angles? And where do you start with people?
So basically, I coach men and women, and yes, I am a breakup, divorce and domestic abuse coach, but I also coach on gaining confidence. I also help with co-parenting, toxic relationships, that kind of thing. So every session is basically tailored to their needs. So I'll always have a free consultation with them first, just to hear what they're going through. And then the next sessions, basically, they talk, they offload. The first session is really about 90 minutes long, and they will tell me what's happening in their lives, what they're going through. And then as a coach, I kind of move them forward positively, and we don't keep going over their story because I don't want to keep them stuck in that same negative emotion. So my job is to basically coach them forward and to give them clarity on what they're going through. Each week they'll have maybe 3 to 5 things to do, like an action plan. So it just keeps them kind of empowered and in control of their lives.
Do you deal with sort of emotions that arise, and how is it the right way to say to how to regulate them or how to control them, or how, you know, what do you? There's a lot of emotion in this area. There's bound to be. It would be crazy to think there wasn't.
Yes.
So how should people handle their emotions when they're going through a divorce? I mean, is there a set methodology, or what tips can you give?
Well, firstly, I must say that all of these emotions. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and that is completely natural. One day you could feel that you're moving forward, and then you could, wake up the next day and be all so angry again. So you'll swing between the emotions until you do realize how to actually navigate them. So when they come to me and, for example, they can't stop crying, and we delve into what's keeping them awake at night, you'll find that some people, they're not sleeping well, they're not eating properly, they're not going for walks anymore. So kind of that will have an impact on their already negative emotions. So it's basically, I give them the tools and techniques, let them know that they really hold the remote control to their own brain, and they're responsible for their own life. It's not about their ex-partner anymore. It's about them taking their control back and just really empowering them to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people will come to me and say, I don't know where my bank statements are. We had a joint account, let's say in this case it's a wife,
yeah,
that he, made all the financial decisions, he had his own, I just don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So is one aspect, sort of practical aspect, finding out what they can and cannot deal with.
Yes, yeah. And, I do have many women clients that, they got married, they raised their children, they stayed at home, which was completely acceptable at the start of their marriage. And then, of course, as they go along, they do separate, and there's this kind of, they've lost their confidence, they've lost the financial independence, and they really don't know where to start. So again, it's coaching them to celebrate the small wins, to even opening up a bank account in their own name, finding out, who their electricity bills were from, and just again taking back control and letting them know that with that inner strength that they have, even though they don't think that they have it at the time, they will always find the inner strength to move forward and, take control of their finances. I don't give legal advice, and I don't give financial advice. What I will say as well is, women that are coming to me like that, it's kind of, I do say to them to maybe do a budget plan, what their income is, what their outgoings are. And again, it's just giving them control and letting them know that they can do this. And I can help navigate those up and down emotions along the way.
And how did you find people just say, I just can't do this? They've just completely lost confidence. What's a way of getting confidence?
The way of getting confidence is kind of hand-holding them, I guess, and letting them know that what has gone on is not their fault. I get them to journal their feelings. I get them to meditate, just do things that is positive, and also make sure that they have a great support network around them as well. And when you have a good support network, you know that you can go here for your coaching, you have a good lawyer in your corner, a financial advisor if need be, and you know that everyone supporting you is in your corner, and you feel safe and protected. And just feeling safe and protected gives them that power, that control, that, it just shifts their focus from, I can't do this, to, actually, I can do this.
So, yeah, I really get you there. And I think that's why we've connected, that we both realise you need a team. Mm-hmm. You can't just do this on your own. I think some people, and it's a really hard one, will just want to run away. And I understand that too. Sometimes I feel like that. If something goes wrong, I just want to just run off, hide in a corner until it's all gone away. I mean, that's an instinct. I don't do that. But, that's kind of feeling.
Yes.
And I think there's some shame involved, and people, as you say, probably haven't done anything wrong. And even if they have, it's normal to do, we're not all perfect.
Yeah.
So I think there's shame involved. I think people want to hide away. is there a way that you can sort of get them to keep connected? I suppose by finding you, that's a really big step that they've
Huge.
taken as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's empowering, isn't it?
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
And I also say to them every time, look, you rang me, you've got in touch. This is the first step for you to take back control. And even hearing the words taking back control, it kind of, it's, you hear that, oh, it's kind of, yes, I can do it. I definitely can. I mean, we all want to run away from issues and think, you know what, tomorrow's another day. I'll deal with it tomorrow, But tomorrow comes, and then the next day comes. And you just really have to deal with these emotions, head on. If you don't deal with them, at some point, they're going to just hit you like a freight train. So, and also as well, when you're kind of not dealing with the emotions, you're suppressing it in, and it will manifest unhealthily down the line. You know, whether that's drinking, you're working too much, you're at the gym too much, drugs, things like that. So I do help them just regain control of their lives and just really see a blank canvas in front of them instead of that dark hole that they think they're in and that they can't get out of. It's like, you have a blank canvas here. You can grow, you can throw as much colour onto that as you want. So, and with my coaching and as the weeks go on, there's a difference, and to see that is just incredible.
Do you find it really enriching yourself to see that? I mean, I certainly do as a lawyer. It's really nice that people have made their own decisions. I try to just give them all the options. This is what's going to happen, probably in court, and then by them understanding the law and understanding what's going to happen, give them free will and free choice, and then people usually make really sensible decisions, and you see them move on, and all the worry, starts to flow away.
Yeah.
And do you see people visibly change?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They can be, such a cry that they're crying, they're emotional, they can't get the words out sometimes because they're just so angry. And that has to pass at some point. And they know it will pass, but they just want someone to help them get over that hurdle and let them know that, tomorrow's another day. As I said earlier, I give them action plans to keep them. I mean, it's needed in the healing and the coaching process to keep them moving forward, and also to give them that control. And it's about, by the time we speak next week, you'll have done these few things, nothing overwhelming, because they're already overwhelmed with their emotions.
There is overwhelm, isn't there? I was thinking that as you were talking, that it could be even you saying, well, watch his video or do some journalism, that might be too much.
Absolutely.
So I suppose you celebrate what they can and have done.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about the small wins. And as I say, this is a journey. This healing process is a journey. Don't think that you'll be able to get there tomorrow or next week. But what I do coach is I give them the tools and the techniques, and they will have that for life. And they know that it's a journey, and a journey starts with them. They have to be right. They have to take care of themselves. If they're not taking care of themselves, it's again taking control. You have to control your life. There's nobody there now. It's just you. You need to take control. And they're, when the penny drops, it's kind of like, it's like a light bulb moment. And they're like, oh, that's right. I have to take care of me. It's all about self-care, self-love, and just keep going forward instead of keep talking about the past. And the more that they talk about the past, the more that they're stuck. So it's all about forward, forward, forward. And I help fast track those emotions.
And what do you think the principal emotion that you see is? You've talked about anger, you've talked about crying, or is it just the whole range?
It's a range. If there's been infidelity, of course, there's so much anger that they just, it's
betrayal,
there.
I suppose.
Betrayal, they can't. And,
do people want revenge sometimes? Are they talk in those terms?
Yeah, and it's kind
which
of like...
Which can be destructive.
So destructive to the children, to them. And, whether they feel that in the moment, it's more about take the moral high ground. that's not you at your core, is it? You just want revenge. And, you know, down the line, when everything, you know, 2 or 3 years down the line, whenever it's all, the divorce is done and dusted, it's kind of, you want to be able to look at that partner and know that you took the moral high ground, because if you have children, there's going to be engagements and birthday celebrations and weddings. So you want to be able to be in the same room with your ex-partner. Of course, it's going to be hard. I get that. But just to know that even though you felt that revenge deep down, you didn't do anything. You took the moral high ground because you thought about yourself and the core of yourself and your children and what they will think of you in years to come.
And I guess by discussing it through with you, that those sort of thoughts then see light, and they probably work it out for themselves. Actually, that's not going to work that way. It seems a good idea, but actually it won't go well.
Absolutely.
And I guess also it's good for them to think about the modelling that they're giving to their children, because if they're modelling that, you know, doing the right thing, the children hopefully will get pulled along with that and won't see, you know, children are so observant, obviously.
Very much,
And tell me about your work with people who are suffering domestic abuse.
Oh, okay. That's one of the tougher ones I deal with. So domestic abuse, sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes they're coming to me and they're in a toxic relationship and domestic abuse. And, you know, they could have been with their partner for years, and they don't realise that the subtle emotional abuse, for instance, has been happening along the line. So it's kind of when we start to reflect and, of course, kind of tease it out of them little by little, they realise that what has happened in the relationship, you know, maybe gaslighting, or somebody's only given them X amount of money to live on per week, but they normalise that so much because they've been with their partner for years and that's the way that they've always done it. But again, it's about self-awareness and making sure that when they're out of this relationship, that they've got firmer boundaries, they notice red flags and they're more self-aware of what goes on, and also what they want in the future as well.
So is there an element that they might come to you and not mention it, and then this comes up? Because that certainly happens in cases that I do.
Yes.
And I would say particularly with men, I might be some way into it, and there's things that they haven't wanted to tell because they feel a sense of shame, maybe. And sometimes I will have to reflect back to them as like, was that okay? And then they will know where I'm going, I guess. And then, you know, they will hold it. But obviously, I will only get involved as a lawyer in terms if people need protection. I'll always look at that first. So do you need protection? 'Cause safety first.
Absolutely.
You know, do we need a non-molestation order? Do we need an occupation order? And so I will try to get that out. And that's why I'd say some people will hold that back. Generally not women, but I do see men holding back.
Yes.
And understandably sometimes, because it may be the police have attended, and I have done cases where, and some of these are quite a long time ago, where police weren't well trained.
Yes.
And very, very obvious that the person under attack was the man, and the police have still arrested him. And even though there's photographs of, you know, damaged faces and all sorts of things, you know, they haven't been believed. And so I guess they just think, just have to take this.
Yes.
When that comes out with people, how do you find that are they more open with you as a coach? Well, I suppose you can't compare because you're not a lawyer, but I find as a lawyer, it won't necessarily come out immediately, only if they really want that protection.
Yes, I mean, I do have 2 male clients who have, you know, suffered domestic abuse. And we must remember as well that domestic abuse doesn't discriminate. You know, it can happen to men or women. And that's why I coach both men and women. And one financially abused, but, you know, again, it stemmed back to this is how we started off. The wife took care of the finances, which usually it's the men that take care of the finances. And, you know, that's all discussed at the beginning of the marriage. But, so one man, you know, he would take money every week, and that was fine. But then once we started talking, it transpired also that, you know, she had control of his emotions and where he went and what time he got back from the pub, and should he stay late, should he go to the work do. And again, about reflecting over the course of the coaching sessions, it was always he was doing things to please her. So, you know, it's again the light bulb moment. Didn't realize it because he's in the relationship and that's what they do.
Yeah, that was his normality.
They normalize it so much.
So the work from your angle, is it getting people stronger so that this is in their past, because obviously they can't change what has happened, sure. But there's a pattern, isn't there, that people then might get in the same relationship in the future, which, you know, having got out of one relationship, then, you know, what's the hard work that they need to do you think?
Yeah, well, with that one there, Joanna, it's more I always say you have to heal first and foremost. If you don't heal first within and take that time to be self-aware and give yourself self-love and just realize what has gone on, you're going to take that into the next relationship if you don't be aware and really understand what has gone on. So again, it's about coaching them. It's about letting them know how to take care of themselves, and what do they enjoy doing. Put their needs first. Write down, journal. What do you want in your next relationship? What did you not like in the previous relationship and you know was now wrong? What do you want moving forward? And always look at that list and be aware. But again, it comes down to self-love and also setting boundaries as well.
Setting boundaries.
Oh, it's so big to set
so
clear
hard for
boundaries.
people to do. So many people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And so do you do work on boundary setting?
Yeah.
It's
about confidence building, because some people, they don't communicate. Even they know that, I don't actually like that. They kind of people please to stay in that relationship or think, but it's kind of my job to help them realize that actually your needs matter. Don't put that other person on a pedestal. You matter. You have to take care of yourself. You've been in a previous relationship that wasn't healthy. Recognize the signs and communicate. And, if you don't communicate your needs, how does that next partner know your boundaries if you're not telling them? I don't like you coming home at 1 a.m. I don't like you drinking 3 bottles of wine or, if you don't say and you don't communicate your needs, how are they to know? And if they don't take care of your emotional needs, then of course you don't want to then go back into that unhealthy relationship. So it's all about giving them the tools and techniques that's sustainable and that they will always have and always be in their head to look out for.
And so I'm sure by speaking with you and going through this and spending time on this, there's some validation for them where they may be thinking, because they've been so immersed in this relationship, as you said, it's been normalised, and then you're objectively coming in, you're trained, and then like, so they're validated in understanding that this wasn't correct, and that to look for something better in their future.
Absolutely.
It's really, really valuable.
Very much.
What about co-parenting? What can you tell us about that? Because obviously, in very, very many breakups, there are minor children. If you think about it, we're still, this is still relatively new because there weren't so many breakups. You're still in sort of say first 30 years of this, which, historically is only a short period.
Yeah.
So we're getting children who've grown up with parents who've separated. So it's in some ways still a new area. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And what can you tell us? How should parents co-parent?
I think parents, when they co-parent, they forget it's about the children's needs. Again, it comes to the conflict with the parents and they forget their children. It's all about the power and the control. And again, it's the moral high ground. it's okay if he dropped them off 5 minutes late or 5 minutes early. It's okay, it doesn't have to be set in stone. And I always say again, keep the boundaries clear, keep the communication clear, but have it in a way where you maybe communicate via email. So there's always, there's a list of communication. So if their lawyer needs something from that list, it can always be referred to. But again, it's about the children's needs. Forget your conflict. It's about the children and what they want and need. And they want to see their parents co-parent and not parallel parent.
Tell me what parallel parenting is.
So co-parenting, just in case the viewers aren't sure, is working together for the children.
Yeah.
Parallel parenting is where you're kind of doing your own thing, regardless of the other parent. You're just going to do your own thing. You don't want the input of the other parent because you're basically taking control of the situation, which doesn't go down too well because it just adds, you probably know yourself, aggression, and it just antagonizes the other parent in the process, which isn't good.
I mean, it can be wildly expensive for people who are going through children proceedings, or even if they're not even in court, they're sort of all lawyered up.
Yeah.
And, I see this and, we try to just be really straightforward. It's just not family law cafe. If people want to go and spend £1 million, it just doesn't make any sense to me. You can, you're absolutely free to do so.
Yes.
I would tell you it's a bit of a waste. Better things you can do. And there was someone that came to us and they had spent that, and I couldn't really compute. It didn't seem sensible. And I mentioned that because I was at a conference and the judge was talking about this case coming before him, and they'd spent that, and I just think it seems crazy.
Wow.
So in terms of parenting, it can all be lawyers sending letters about really minor things, and I'm sure the lawyers, it's a business. So, and I've been involved in that myself in solicitors' offices, and I always tried to send the letter that would end all that conflict, and then I realised I didn't want to end it, so I'd send out like, and it seemed that's all sorted, and then another one would come back about, I don't know, the pickup time, it should be 5:30, not 5 p.m. or something like that. And really, either one's fine. There's not a wrong or right, is there? There's not one time to pick up a child. It's just be sensible.
Yeah.
So what does a parent do if they think they're being sensible, they're following your guidance, but the other party isn't? How can they deal with that in the best way?
I do have a couple who I deal with. I was dealing with the father, but the mother wasn't kind of adhering to their co-parenting. So when I was speaking to him, I said, how would you feel if you asked your wife to come in on a session, and I can talk to her and we can both, talk about things and see where, the issues are. And he was all about, no, that's never going to happen. She just wants to do her own thing. And about 2 days later, I got a message to say, actually, she is more than happy to come and speak as well. So I was absolutely delighted. And again, it comes down to communication. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah. So anyway, she did come in and we had a chat, the three of us. And she realised that she was being a little bit petty with what she was looking for and asking for, and realising that, this isn't for the children's needs. This is about you two arguing and conflict and wanting one-upmanship. Yeah. And it's kind of, how would you feel if next week, during this next week until I meet, your husband, or you both come back together, how would you feel if you did it this way? And, and it kind of took just literally a few seconds for, yes, of course. Yeah, of course it's for the children. So, those moments where the penny drops, and again, I always call it light bulb moments, it's kind of like, yeah, why did we not think of that? But again, it comes to their emotions. They're so angry, they're so cross. It's, you betrayed me, you did this, you did that, I'm going to make you suffer.
Yeah.
But amongst all of that, they've got children, and they have to co-parent, and they have to set the tone for, as the children grow up. They want to see their parents communicate even below the surface. If they're bubbling with anger, at least if children see that pattern, they can see it's at least healthy in front of them. So,
and if judges or magistrates get any idea that the conflict is about the parents and they're not focused on the children, they will say it in court. So people will bring things to court only to find a judge saying, you two need to speak to each other and sort. And it's crazy, isn't it? They might have gone 9 months and be in a court hearing where judges obviously they're trying not to intervene because the principles of the Children Act are that parents are able to decide, they have agency. So having a coach and getting that input, and it's a lovely story, isn't it, that the other party was willing to come in, and how great is that it got fixed. It was for some reason that communication wasn't working. And usually people, I had a case once, it was a long time ago, and it was very moving because I was acting for the mother, and it was the father wanted some level of contact which she wasn't happy with, and then it got put over, and then we came back to court about 3 months later, and I turned up, and they both came into the room. It was just so moving. And they said that their child, I think it was a girl, she'd had to go to hospital, and it was I have no memory of what it was, but they both rushed to hospital. It was something that was quite serious, and they were around her bed, and they just looked at each other and said, "What are we doing? What are we doing? Wow, we have to sort this out." And she was fine, she recovered, but it was something that was serious, and they just came, and we just worked it all out, and we sat there and went into court, and I explained, I think it was to the magistrates. And it was a reality check where they realised that they were arguing over the head of the child, and then seeing her in hospital and, thinking, I think it was even that they might lose her. We have to stop.
Yeah, of course.
And they actually just came back into court, and it was just lovely. Obviously it wasn't lovely that this had happened to the child, but it was a good outcome in the end.
Of course.
So they had that reality check.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
Financial abuse, what happens if, as is often the case, there was one party they might be using the fact that they've got the hold of the money to abuse the other, and this can be quite tricky going into court because one party might not have enough money to litigate, and there's just different ways we can approach that. So how do you help people when there's financial abuse?
If they've got financial abuse, it's one deep to my heart because I also went through that, unfortunately. So I totally understand men and women in that situation. So again, it's bringing their emotions on a calmer level. It's about also, do you have a lawyer? And it's about income, expenditure. It's finding out really, what monies do they have, what they can live on. And it's about taking control. It's about, by the time I see you next week, how about you open up a new bank account just in your name? Is that too much for you? Would you be able to do that? Yeah, I can do that. So it's all about, I think they've been grind down for so long and bulldozed into submission that they feel that they can't do anything, that, they've got no money, so no money equals no power. So I'm kind of coaching them and giving them clarity. Well, you do have power because you can do this yourself, you can do that yourself. And again, it's the small wins with these people.
And I guess it's confidence, isn't it? That then they will be more confident, and they will perhaps say to their lawyer, we need to push for interim maintenance or just raise those issues. Because what's important for people to understand is the lawyer's role is to take instructions and to act on your instructions. As sometimes lawyers are worried about being too proactive and they're like, what, you should do this, because that's not the lawyer's role.
Yeah.
So I suppose with you, they're figuring out what their priorities are, because they may say, no, I don't want interim maintenance. I don't want to be dependent. I want to have, people have different views.
Yes.
Or I know that I need maintenance. I've got the care of the 2 children. We don't have enough money. What can I do? And they figure it out with you, and they're empowered then to say to a lawyer, okay, what can we do here?
Yeah, of course. And by doing that as well, Joanna, it kind of saves time. So if they're coming to you and you've booked out an hour to be with them, at least they've offloaded their emotions with me.
Yeah.
They're coming to you with income, expenditure. This is what I need. And they're not coming to you and really wasting the hour talking about their emotions. Obviously, lawyers have compassion, but they're coming to you with, this is what I need, with more clearer instructions. They obviously want a better outcome, but they have to be clear in their mind first and get rid of their emotions, or be on top of their emotions, should I say, before coming to you and saying, this is what I need. Instead of being, crying and tearful and upset and angry, they've got rid of that with me, and they're coming to you to have a productive hour of what can you do for me, or what's the right way to deal with things. Pure legal advice.
Yeah, I mean, as family lawyers, we're covering an area where we want to help people. Otherwise, we'd be doing tax or crime or something else, or personal injury.
Yeah.
So we want to help people. So it's a sort of bit of a perfect storm. You've got someone coming to us crying and they can't get their emotions under control, and they're like, we want to help. And then ka-ching, that bill is going up. There's another phone call. There's 2 hours on the phone. But when I was working for a big solicitor's firm years ago, I had an arrangement where I do the last 2 hours of my day at home between 4 and 6. I just had a nice, work my hours around my family situation.
Sure. Yes.
Those 2 hours I would devote just to talking to the clients, and then it was a big firm, so they were billing them.
Yes.
And then the accounts department was someone, they would phone up, hey, we need to get money from so and so, and I'd try and say, oh look, can you just be kind to them, they're really nice, or give them an instalment plan. But obviously that's how a solicitor's firm works. So, and we're trying to do our best, and we don't want to turn people away. I had someone turning up at my door once to tell me something that's found out where I lived. And it inspired me to think we need to set up family law cafe. So, you get the lawyer, you have your divorce coach, you have your financial advisor, you have your whatever you need, and every case is different. But use your money sensibly and get the best specialist. I'm a big fan of, get the best that you can get for your particular situation. Yeah. Because so many people come to us and they've spent, £30,000 on just getting nowhere. So if they talk to you, you're kind of a sort of filter for a lot of that, aren't you?
Yeah. So they, and it definitely helps, because when they come to the likes of you, they need to be able to listen to you. And when they're clouded with their own misery and emotion and sadness, they're not hearing you. No. And I've been there myself as well years ago. I used to come out of the solicitor's office thinking, what just happened there? Or what do I need to do? Or what are they going to do for me? Because I couldn't get my emotions out, thinking they were going to help me with my emotions. And that was completely wrong. And of course, looking back, I know that now. So it's very true. They spend so much money on solicitors by offloading their emotions. And the solicitors are there to get them the best outcome they possibly
really
can.
Are.
And to do the best for their client. And if they're going in with all of that anger and, it's just not going to... Well, it will work, but of course at the end of it, it will just cost a complete fortune for them. So I kind of bridge that emotional gap, the emotional overwhelm, and give them those tools and techniques to move forward and to come with a clearer mind to the likes of you.
And I do have the other side that happens fairly regularly as well. And it will be men more than women. And they're just like, here's a spreadsheet of everything, boom, and they just want to do it. And you're like, no, I need a bit more information because it's not quite as simple as that.
Yeah.
And this one, like, just an hour, and then I'll do it, and then I'll make an offer. And I see this all the time. And there might be a businessman like, okay, so, and they are actually being really fair. They're not being bad. They're just like, okay, I got it. This marriage is over. Let's move on. Here's a spreadsheet. Let's say, like, it's half and half, isn't it? And then you get so little information as the lawyer. And of course, then the offer goes out, and then the wife maybe she's got a lawyer, and they're like asking lots of questions. He's like, no, I'm just, and the man genuinely just is being fair, but the perception, there's a lack of trust, and it's too quick. So really, I would think that person would actually benefit from having having a bit of assistance with a divorce coach to see what are the things that the other party is going to be looking for here. And if you can't be too quick sometimes. You can be too simple and too quick. There's just quite a lot of depth in this work, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in betrayals as well, they're already paranoid. That other party is already very paranoid. Excuse me. So they're hypersensitive.
Yeah.
It's he's hiding something, and then they spend months, trying to look for X, Y, and Z. And I'm trying to coach them in a way that, are you sure? And it's kind of, whenever it's too quick, it's always a worry. For clients.
Things can go too fast.
Very much so. And I know, and I have a gentleman that I deal with, and he's going so slow. He's the opposite end of that. He doesn't like admin, for example. So it's kind of he's getting all these letters from his lawyer. I think you're paying for those letters to come out, and they're having to keep chasing you. And how about we just do one statement? How about before we meet again next week, we just do one statement and get all that? So then whenever I meet the next week, it's kind of, oh, well, I got that statement. I also did this and I also did that. It's kind of coaching them in. And once they're on that road to, okay, getting their admin done, something else will get done, and they're in that movement.
Well, empowered, I suppose.
Yes, and it's kind of, you're getting them to move forward. It's about moving them forward positively. So it's gentle nudges that, it just definitely helps. And again, it helps the lawyer, because the lawyer, I've got that, brilliant, well done. Okay, we can move on to the next thing. So kind of my work complements your legal
It
advice.
definitely does.
Yeah.
And so I've heard you use the phrase move them forward. Just out of curiosity, how long did your divorce and finances take?
Oh, gosh.
Start to finish?
Start to finish. I dread to say 10 years. Yes.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yes. There was.
So I get why you, having learned, you don't want anyone else there.
No, I have been there and unfortunately spent a small fortune on fees as well. The emotional toll that it takes.
10 years of your life,
10 years.
Louise.
And this is how I look back and I think 10 years of my life, I will never let that happen to any of my clients. No way. And of course, I didn't know about emotional coaching back then, not because I was going through emotional abuse. I couldn't take that on board. But, it's kind of looking back, what a waste. Energy, negative emotions, and, all of that. So that's what got me into this coaching. And I love what I do. And I love seeing a difference from the very first call.
Yeah, you really stand out as being really passionate about what you do.
Thank you.
And that's, I am too, proudly so. I wouldn't do something unless I really wanted to do it. And, I try and think about why I do it this way. But I think it was perhaps because I'm probably the sort of person who thinks, oh, I can do it myself. And that's not a good thing. You need a team, you need people around you, you need support.
Yes.
And so in recognising that in myself, I want people to have support teams. I want them to have a gang on their side. It's hard to do. You need support. You can't go through it on your own. I tend to think, I can do that. I don't need any help. And Yeah, that's just not the case for
This is
many
it.
people. Very few people are true loners and
Yeah.
can just deal with everything on their own. They need support, and the right support.
They do. And like I said earlier as well, Joanna, if you don't have that support and you think that you're so dependent, you can do this, it's fine. 10 months, a year, 18 months later, it's going to hit you like a freight train, because you can have all of that help. You can reach out to family and friends, they can help you as well. But if you don't deal with that and have a good support network, it's going to...
But family and friends have their own perspective.
Yeah.
You don't know what their motivations are. You might think you know, and they're not objective, and they just may love you too much that it's just not going to help.
Yeah, constructive.
And they're the in-laws, and it's just it's complex. It's a hard position to put them in. So it's better to have someone who's trained and objective.
Yeah.
So tell me about people that, having got through this, hopefully with your help, as you say, move them on.
Yes.
People usually want to have another relationship. So how can you help there?
Okay, well, I mean, this is the kind of the fun part for me. It's an exciting part for me, helping them. So kind of, they've got their money, or they've got their money coming, and it's like, okay, it's been a couple of years now, done my self-healing, I feel better, I feel ready, I know my boundaries, and just the empowerment and just the confidence is just amazing. So to get them to that level, it's, I have helped with a couple of profiles on dating apps. That was great fun to do. So it's all about remember your boundaries, concentrate on what type of man you want, what type of woman you want, remember your list, what you'll put up with, what you won't put up with, any red flags, and just being self-aware. And just, go into it open-heartedly and go in with curiosity, go in with your self-love. First of all, nobody's going to love you, and take care of you. You have to take care of yourself, and don't depend on the other person for your happiness. Have it from within.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the fun area and the exciting area. And some people, they don't have the confidence yet. So it's kind of, okay, well, how would you feel? Of course, I never tell my clients what to do, but it's kind of, how would you feel about, just doing a profile? Just, giving you confidence to actually type your profile on a dating app, because as you're typing it, you're obviously thinking that that's you, and it kind of gives them that more empowerment. Again, they're taking control of their life, they're in control, they can do it. It's that inner strength, and it's that push that they keep going forward and forward and forward, and realizing that yes, it's always sad when there's a breakup, but to be in a relationship where you're obligated to be there, or just because, the children, it's about growth to get to the other side and healing. And they'll know exactly what they want in the next relationship.
And do you think that sometimes people don't take that step because they haven't figured it all out in the previous relationships? They want to keep it somehow alive, because you get people, they separate. And if you think about so many marriages that we know that are really successful couples are second marriages, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I've heard it said, I think this is really interesting, that particularly a man, I say particularly a man, I suppose I see it from a female perspective, but a man on second marriage, they can be amazing, because men tend to be quite practical, like, oh yeah, I did that wrong. Yes. And sometimes they couldn't quite get on with it.
Yes.
Whereas I think women are very confident about relationships often, and this is such a horrible generalisation, but sometimes women are just so confident, they know, well, I'm not going to change. Whereas I feel that men are willing to change quite often and can make great second husbands.
Yes.
That's what I've been told. And obviously women make great second wives if they are willing to do the work, I guess. So if people don't do that, and you see people that separate and then they never remarry, and is that saying anything, or is it just that they're better on their own? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is.
Asking for a friend.
Well, you can tell your friend that maybe they're not ready, maybe they haven't done the inner work, or maybe they just haven't found that right partner that ticks a lot of their boxes. I mean, we've all got kind of like a tick box of some sort, but not everybody's going to tick all the boxes. You have to know what you definitely want in a partner, whether that be loyalty, friendship, kindness, that kind of thing, and what you definitely don't want. You don't want anybody that's unkind or is rude or has doesn't listen to your emotional needs. And again, it's all about communicating. And some people go through life in the second relationships, and he doesn't understand me, but it's okay. Well, why does he not understand you? Did you communicate? Did you tell him that you didn't like that? Or, well, no, well, he should know. And it's like, well, not really. You have to communicate. So, some people just don't want to get married again. They're happy to
there can be all sorts of practical reasons.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I guess if it's a conscious choice, it's a different thing to if people are lonely and sad and still talking about, which is something you've covered, the people that keep talking about the past. And obviously there are people that just cannot let go. I would say that's the biggest thing, and I'm sure that's the work you do with their emotional healing.
And it's all about and talking about their past. I mean, I only do it once with my session, but I also say to my clients as well, when you go out with your family and friends, don't talk about your ex. Why would you talk and give them the energy and give them your time? You're out with your friends to forget about life.
Makes no sense, does it, really? They don't want to hear about your ex, I wouldn't have thought.
That's right.
Or maybe just shortly. But
and this is the thing, and it's kind of like when you're if you've got a long divorce, and 2 years in, 3 years in, you're still talking about that person. You're still keeping that emotion and that anger alive, unknowingly to yourself, but you're still keeping it alive. So it's kind of, when you talk about them, refer them by their initial, not their name. So if it's, I don't know, Peter, call P. And it's, so you're not kind of giving too much to that energy. And so they do understand why they shouldn't keep talking about it. They talk about it with me, on the first one, and I move them forward. And
of course, a pressure valve, isn't it?
Yeah. And of course, in sessions, it will come up again if it need be. But I tend to just, not forget about that because we're dealing with it. But it's kind of, we've talked about that. Don't give any more energy to it. It's negative. Let's try and leave it there and let's go forward. And again, I always say, move forward positively.
Perfect. So where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Louize Coaching on my website, louisecoaching.co.uk.
With a Z.
With a Z.
Or a Z.
Or a Z,
Z,
so it's Louize Coaching. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and also I think I have one on YouTube as well. So that's where you will find me. So if you need me to navigate and help through the difficult transitions, please give me a call. I will offer a free consultation.
Perfect. Lovely to speak to you as ever.
You too as always. Thank you so much for having me, Joanna. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.